So today I'm going to talk about some aspects of trauma and kind of dial it out a little bit to where we actually look at larger scale areas of trauma and the impacts to us in community. All right, so we're going to go through some of the objectives here. I do have a discussion question for you. I know that the fish and the chicken is up, so y'all should be able to talk, right? The tables is gone, the food is gone, right? So we shouldn't have any issues with that. We'll get into that, have a little bit of a conversation around the information, the presentation, wrapping it up, and also giving you opportunities if there's any questions throughout. All right. So hopefully by the end of the evening, you'll have a little bit more information about some of these things. So understanding collective trauma, what does that look like? How do we collectively experience that? How many people are in the collective that have experienced that? So we'll look at that. We'll look at how our body responds to stress and trauma. And some of the known physical things, but some of the things that we don't even associate with trauma and stress and how that manifests in us physically. Really look at some of the messaging that we received growing up around how to survive. And for the good, bad, or otherwise, what that looks like. And then also does it look like to heal. And in this space here, nice and full, stomach not touching my back, right? This is the perfect kind of environment when we think about collective healing as well. All right, so my question to you all, what protective messages did your community teach you about survival? So wherever you are from, if you're from the Point, if you're from other places in the Bay, the city, outside of the area, what did your community teach you about survival? And what was survival? What did it look like? How did you do it? How did it feel? Yes. Yeah. I remember growing up, if it's a problem, call the police. Then you flash forward to 2000, don't call the police. They kill people by putting their knees on necks, right? I mean, those are some real mixed messages. All right. All right, the ball has started rolling. What other messages have we gotten around survival? Yes.
Don't tell the family secrets.
Oh. What happened in this house, stay in this house. Oh yeah. And I mean, that might not even include like telling other family members outside of the house. Yeah. Yes.
Don't talk about it, keep it in.
Very short statement, very impactful. I think that might have kept a lot of people from counseling and therapy, right? We don't talk about that. Just throw that away, put that in the back, right? That's for the real crazy people. And that's clearly not us. Or is it? I don't know. Yes. Oh, snap now. Right? You done brought them into it now, right? But that has been a way in which we have been taught to survive, right? Maybe put it back here, pray about it. WWJD, y'all remember that? What would Jesus do? Throw it up to God and let it sit there. Yeah. Yeah. What other? I thought I saw another hand here. Yes. Don't call me till you outside. Okay? That's it. Yes. All right, but no, I mean about just being, safety and awareness and common sense, right? Yeah. Yes. Always. Always. Keep that head on a swivel.
Always go the same way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People be watching.
Okay. Oh, they be watching. Yeah. Yes.
So, that was just like a survival tactic because, like you said, also it was like those people are crazy, so you have to kind of watch out for them. Maybe you can see it in their eyes or something, but you could never tell with the shooters or anything like that. But it was always keep your head on a swivel kind of thing, and then survival mode. Get out of there when you get, whenever they start. Not if they do, when they do.
Right, you duck,
Yeah.
then you keep it moving,
Yeah.
right? Don't look around. We don't need to know where it came from. It's here, right? Yeah, I mean, but these are like those real survival messages. Yes.
Don't talk to strangers and do not answer that door unless somebody you know is
Listen, you can't even, listen, the door, the only people that need to walk through the door got a key. Right? One of the first messages I taught my kids, listen, you stay at home, everything will be fine as long as you don't open the door. Right? I mean, honestly, like these are those messages, right? And I mean, and these are all great survival messages, right? Because they kept us safe. They got you here today, right? And I mean, and just kind of think of some other survival messages, because you all captured a great deal of them. These are all the things that we are really taught to protect us, right? But hopefully we don't have to exist in survival mode, right? As we are getting there, this is definitely some of the things that we do to protect ourselves, right? Under this allows us to honor the wisdom of our people who come before us, right? So we're taking in the knowledge, right? And we're using it, and it helps us. But there are also some other survival messages that may be positive, but also after a while may not have the same benefits to us, right? When I was coming up, you got to be a fighter, right? It's going to be somebody that's going to have the belt. Damn it, I'm a contender. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to lose me out here, right? And I mean, that's okay. I'm still a fighter. I told y'all that, didn't I? All right. But these are some of the things that we think about, right? Some other survival techniques that we have. Growing up, I don't know if this is showing my age or my game, right? But I remember like food stamps, right? If we didn't have it, we, cut the book up, right? We're going to section this off. We're going to whippy swatch, right? This was survival, right? I'm going to put your milk with my butter and these eggs, right? Some other survival methods. And I think somebody said it, look away or don't look at people, right? Don't start none, won't be none. Y'all heard that one? Yeah. I remember going to school and graduate. It was nothing about learning or feeling engaged. You just go to school, get that diploma. Life should be good for you at this point, right? I remember my grandmother telling me this, and it's so funny. Like, I mean, I think about it now. It's not funny when she said it so much. But if you got pregnant, you got married. I mean, right. I mean, and that's what it was. And she was like, yeah, and if I could have had an abortion, none of y'all would be here. I said, Grandma, right? I mean, but that was survival at 15 in 1950 something, right? That's what it looked like. Yeah. Some more other things about survival. You may know about this. If you know about Section 8 and the inspections that happen every year. If you live there and you're not on the lease, you might have to clean your room out for a day. It's okay because you can bring it on back the next day, right? But survival, right? Because we need this Section 8 voucher. We've been on the list 10 years. We just got this spot. Yeah. See some other ones up here. Until this comes on, I'll just say it. One of my nail techs, my friend actually told me this, and I thought this was a very interesting thing when we think about survival, especially in different communities or ethnic communities. So she was a Vietnamese migrant, and she was fleeing from Vietnam during this time. War-torn country, on a boat, right? This is one of those, I can't believe you made it, now she's a thriving type of thing, but one of the survival things that her mother told her, right? You put ketchup in your panties on this boat ride, right? Because people out here are lurking and they might try to rape you, but hopefully that will deter them enough for you to safely get over here, right? When we think about survival, what does that feel like, right? I'm a stowaway going to another country, foreign country, got to put ketchup in my panties to hopefully keep a predator off of me on this horrific boat ride, right? Survival, when we think about it, right? Some other things, going to the restroom together, right? We go to the restroom together. How many of us? All of us. How many stalls? One. It don't matter, right? Survival, protection, right? And this one, I definitely came to learn in college when everybody was young and wilding. Not me, though, right? We come together, we leave together. Now, what you do after I drop you off, that's okay. But hey, from my timeline, I know you was here with me. Safety, right? When we think about survival. All right. Oh, I think I'm going backwards. Oh, maybe not. All right. So I saw a lot of head nodding, and it seemed like people were familiar with what I was saying, right? These become those communal awarenesses that we think about, right? And so just like our community is informed about the same experiences, we also have experienced the same traumas, right? What happens in one household in the hood, right, or any neighborhood, my family down the street on Ingerson, yeah, right, in any hood, right, we know that there is the potential for a whole lot of trauma to happen here. And so when we think about collective trauma, right, this collective nature, so it is experienced by groups of people who share identity, geography, and history. Think about your neighbors. Who was there growing up around you at that time, whatever that looked like, right? These people have pretty much the same experiences as you, right? Everybody working, hustling, right? Trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, the whole story. No matter what your nationality was, if you in my neighborhood, I know how much money you got. You got as much money as we don't have in my household too, right? This shared collective experience here. All right. Another thing when we think about how communities share trauma, right? We think about intergenerational trauma, where it happens in a household, right? And maybe grandma or big mama or abuela or Lola passes on something that traumatically happened to her. And it may not be the full account of the story because a lot of times, I don't know, somebody said we keep them secrets, right? So we don't even know what big mama tripping off of, but damn it, she said close the door, right? She said close the windows, right? These are the types of things. We don't understand why it's so serious, right? But all we know, get it, close the house, close the door, lock it up. For some reason, we don't feel safe because that has been passed down to us. And then what do when we don't account for it or recognize it? We package it up, give it our own little twist, and pass it on to our kids as well. Right? So when we think about intergenerational trauma, right, this is what is happening. And it happens in our communities. So now we are collectively passing this trauma on to the next generation. All right. Now, I will talk about the systemic trauma that manifests from this because we do live in a system, in a box, right, by design. And we know that systems also impact us. And so when I say systems, I'm talking about the health system, the education system, the social justice system, the criminal justice system, right? All of these systems. And we know that they have had some challenges because those challenges have been passed down to us, right? In different spaces, in different places, yet this community shared experience. All right. So these are some experiences in the greater community, but let's dial it down some, right? Let's get kind of local with it when we think about experiences and trauma. All right, so police violence. Anybody ever seen that in your community? Heard about it? Know somebody experienced it? Yeah. And so what does that look like? Yeah.
That. So, like I said, I live here in the Bayview, and what I've experienced from the police department here in Bayview is they always send the young rookies to us who do not know how to deal with us. And so, Tony, your mixed messages, I do. I tell my son, if the police stop you for whatever reason, do not run, do not say anything, be still. My son was in the Bayview Plaza, and the police came. And thank God I knew the nurses that were upstairs in the other building, because when they harassed my son, they took him out of the car. They was like, Lorraine Devon knew just what to do. He just laid on the ground, and he didn't move. She said the police officer was kicking him. When he seen me, he stopped. You know, it's just that is a part of our survival. Like I said, so certain people, kids leave to go outside and they say, oh, son, have a great day. When my son would leave to go outside, it's like, boy, don't you do nothing, don't you touch nothing, you go exactly where you're supposed to go, and you bring your tail right back here. And he looking at me like, huh?
Why? Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it to him. But all I know that if you do as I say, you may come home alive. You may, you know? So in Bayview, like I said, I had witnessed, it was like 2 black Suburbans, you guys, and this was about 5 in the morning. And what hurt me was the police officers, they had the helmets on, they had them big rifle guns. And it wasn't their presence, it was what they were saying to each other that hurt me. One of the officers looked at another rookie officer and said, yeah, we're about to give you your best day in Hunters Point. We're about to let you see what Hunters Point look like. So I opened up my window and I said, well, how about you tell me what Hunters Point looked like? Because I'm going to be at the commission meeting
Right.
on Monday night letting them know exactly what you're about to train these boys to do. 5 o'clock in the morning, he was like boasting, yeah, I'm about to show you what Hunters Point looked like. What does Hunters Point look like? There's families up there.
Let me respond to that. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but it is the reality, right? And going back to just the idea of systems, that is by design that the young officers come. That is the first assignment, to be a beat cop, right? So to think like, what would be a better means of engagement with the community? Probably somebody with a little bit more expertise and knowledge and how to get along. So again, when we think about systems responses and their part in our repeated trauma, that's by design. That's literally everybody's first assignment. I'm just gonna tell you that. I was gonna say training day, but not training. And I'm like, oh, no. That's the system. And that's the system. So when we think about like this collective trauma, right, at 5 in the morning, waking up, hearing that, seeing that, worried about yours or somebody who may know yours out here and experience it, that is that communal trauma, right? And I actually want to talk about that. I think I got it somewhere in the slide deck, but since we here, right, that feeling that we get, right? You know what I'm talking about when we talk about how trauma lies in the body. It's like that stomach headache. I want to go sleep. I'm angry type of feeling. And we think like, how and where did that come from? Well, that is learned, right? That's a response to what you have seen, experienced, been told, or told how to respond, or in your case with your son, how to survive, right? Those are those feelings. So when we talk about trauma and how it lives in the body, that's that feeling of it living in the body. And I don't know how restful you were after 5 o'clock, but your sleep probably was a little disturbed. That probably was on your mind a little bit throughout the day, right? You were probably fearful or concerned that they may come back, concerned if this is going to be the reality of every day or possibly, right? This is that communal trauma, right? And just how you saw it or experienced it, that's how other people feel it too. And just like how you told your child how to survive if you engage with police, that's the same experience of other kids and other parents too. And that's how we are experiencing this in the community. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that is the experience. Yeah. Yes, in the back. Hey.
Speaking of Hunters Point, Bayview Hunters Point, I'm not from Bayview Hunters Point. I'm actually live in Oakland. I was in Urban Ed Academy before they shut down. I live in Little Saigon in Oakland. The Hunters Point I know is I know at like places like East Oakland, Hunters Point is a red line neighborhood, and was a black neighborhood. Before that, it was an Italian neighborhood, and I know a little bit of history. I know that in 1966 there was a Hunters Point uprising when a cop killed a 15-year-old boy. I don't remember the names, but both the cop and the teenager he killed have the last name Johnson. So he killed the boy, and there was a riot in Hunters Point in 1966. I heard President Kennedy was assassinated. James Baldwin came to Hunters Point, if I'm not mistaken, and he said, this is the San Francisco that you don't see in the media. And it's crazy because when people think San Francisco, people think of like affluence, but people forget that San Francisco is a large urban area, and so every large urban area has like lower socioeconomic areas. So there was a documentary I remember, it was straight out of Hunters Point, and they talked about a big gang war in Hunters Point, and I do know, like, when you hear things like police brutality, I've never experienced it, but I've seen in the news with the Black Lives Matter movement. Police brutality is a horrible thing, because when you see hashtag someone's name and you see hashtag on a banner or hashtag on social media, and then you say, am I next? Because you see random black people, black men, black women, FBA black people, African immigrants, Afro-Caribbean immigrants, anybody who has dark brown skin is open season on us. This is sad that redlining put black people in a position and other minorities in a position where you're impoverished. You go to an underfunded school, you go to an over a police neighborhood, you're higher chances of being incarcerated. I heard a story about Hunters Point, about this guy from Hunters Point. He can't have a gun on him, but he needs a gun on him to survive because he lives in Hunters Point, because he served federal time and he's a felon, so he's not supposed to have a gun, but he needs a gun because he lives in Hunters Point. He needs to survive. That's the system. The system is designed for us to fail.
Well, I will say this to your point, and thank you for that comment, right? Giving a little historical perspective of Hunters Point, right? I will say the system is designed to do exactly what it does. So wherever you fall in the sides of the system, that's what it was made to do, right? When they say, I'm gonna make it do what it do, baby, well, it did that. It just didn't benefit us, right? But also, to your point, and I'm glad that you brought that up, when we think about different systems, right? When we think about the history of oppression and segregation and redlining, definitely coming back into the forefront, all these issues, right? Well, those things are carried in us, right? And so again, when we think about what this communal trauma looks like, if you lived in Hunters Point in 1966, that's a touch point for you, right? And I'm sure that you conveyed the concerns around that to your kids and to your family and to the people around you. And they then take that information and repackage it, but they still carry it with them nonetheless, right? And so these traumatic experiences. Another thing we can talk about, we can talk about the legacy of slavery, but we don't even have to go that far back. Let's start at tomorrow, maybe yesterday, right? Because we can see it all around us here. So again, when we think about the impact of slavery, when we think about Jim Crow, to this young man's point in the back, we often don't associate these things with San Francisco. This is the Bay, right? However, we know that they definitely existed. And we know that many of the families that migrated here came for jobs after the war. The shipping yards kind of fell apart. The economies crumbled, right? Those who could leave left. And those who could not leave are the ones who often were impacted by these massive impacts to trauma. Yeah. All right. Forced displacement, cultural genocide, indigenous individuals impacted by this as well, right? What would that story feel like, right? Everybody that you know had to leave the area, and not like the state, I'm saying the whole region. What does that look like? How do you explain that? I won't even go that far back. Let's talk about Hurricane Katrina. Right, when we think about people largely impacted, traumatized, we see them on the news. They go from being American citizens to refugees. Same person, same identification, but the news and the media are giving us this, right? So think about that collective trauma. Now, you done moved all the way out here to the Bay thinking that there's no racism in California. It's definitely not in San Francisco, right? And then you come out here and then you experience this again. And heaven forbid if you came from one area and then you are, relocated and it's a situation like an Oscar Grant, that happens, right? So these traumas that we share, right? Because Oscar Grant could be anybody's kid or any of us, right? We carry these traumas. And because we are connected in these communities of color, right, of shared experiences, of lived experiences, we feel it in different ways, and we continue to feel it. And then we also feel it even more so because it is piled on top of other trauma, on top of other trauma, and on top of other trauma. And then you turn on the news and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just here for the weather. It's too stressful, right? So again, when we think about communal trauma, this is what it looks like, right? You have felt it. You know what that feels like. It's not just in one position in your body, right? Your back hurt, you stressed out, you snapping on your kids. Yeah, yes.
I was just saying that there's been a forced migration of black people in San Francisco because of how high it is to live here. And that's like every year. Now that they done fired everybody with their federal jobs, I'm sure more people have to move, couch surf, whatever. So I'm from Louisiana, love, supporting Katrina, let me say that. But I'm saying right here in San Francisco, there's been out migration since the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, who knew Antioch was so big, right? Honestly, right? I mean, real migration, like seriously, valid point. Yeah, I mean, and just think what that looks like, going to that when we think about trauma. This house been in the family since 1939, and now we can't afford the house anymore, right? Grandma passed away, the neighborhood has changed, the tax brackets have changed. Now we got to do all of these things that we don't have the know-how around. That's traumatic. Yeah. And again, when we think about systems, that's by design because we see it so frequently, right? If it was a one-off, then it would be a one-off. But the fact that we experience it here, you could talk to your people maybe down throughout the state, maybe across the state, and we have these shared experiences, especially in these big metropolis areas and cities. Yeah, that's by design. And so again, when we think about communal trauma, that is how it shows up for us. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Because we still got all this other type of stuff that is carried with us historically as well. All right. I just one last example when we think about trauma and families, because this is definitely like on the news and circulating when we think about the ICE raids, right? And we think about people's homes and safety being violated. And when I think about it, because I study crime, I'm a criminologist, this is my thing, right? I'm thinking about our constitutional rights. Like, you remember, you close the door. You safe with that door closed. Well, I guess not all the time anymore. And all of a sudden that happened. And that's actually outside the confines of what our Constitution allows for. Yeah. But when I see it, it's reminiscent of, for me, this must have been what the slave patrols look like. Whew. And again, that feeling inside. I wasn't there, but damn it, I still carry it somewhere in me. How is that possible? All these generations later. Yeah. That communal trauma. Yes.
Over the course of my life, I've met two black folks that had families that, a family member that was lynched. And one guy, he was a regional senator client, and we found he happened to be a white guy, but he was kind of like a humanist, into the earth, vegetation, and that kind of works with a lot of the clients. And I couldn't get this brother to go with this guy for nothing at all. He only wanted to deal with black people. And I had had another client, I think it was in Louisiana, and one may have been in Mississippi, but it carried on. And this was like in the 20s or 30s, I forget, but it carried on. And it's real, And that was, my parents were from the South, but they came here, but they didn't have that story. But and it made me think about all the other black people who had this experience and didn't say nothing. Like, for example, we know the Gap Band. And when Charlie Wilson, they made the song Drop the Bomb on Me, that was when they dropped the bomb on that area of Tulsa.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about. But he said you couldn't, so he put it in the song. So like GAP stands for Greenwood, Archer, Pinewood, that section that was bombed, that Black Wall Street. So he had, look, you'll see it, but that it's real. I couldn't help these guys at all in terms of we helped them another way, but that trauma carried from dislike to police officers across the board.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, it's actually traumatic to hear that. Like, to know two people who got lynched personally, right? I mean, like, just the way, just starting that. Yeah. That's traumatic. And again, you don't even need to know the people. I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that got lynched. That's wild. Yeah. And how do you then bounce back? So again, the feelings. When we think about not feeling safe around certain entities in the community, that's not a coincidence that we all feel that way. Over there, right? Why is there this binding, this tie of this experience of fear and concern that we all collectively share? Yes.
What's unfortunate is that when we highlight this, is blown off like it's nothing, get over it. But when another group of people do it, they get full exposure to talk about their experiences, highlighted and whatnot. But us sweep it under the rug. It doesn't matter and whatnot. But it's generational trauma is true. And you have another group of people who, let's cut to the chase. They talk about the Holocaust, and their children, this little man's age, know about it. But when we do it, get over it. And it's gaslighting.
Man, that's traumatic, huh? That's why these types of spaces are super important, right? Because if we have an expectation that we're going to receive all the national attention, we got to kind of evolve our thinking around that, right? Especially at this point, right? But it is important for us to collectively commune with each other so that we can first recognize the truth, right? Because like you said, it can be dismissed, we can be gaslit, right? So we all understand this is our collective truth, right? The power in just recognizing that, right? And then how do we move forward from here, right? And that's, again, where these types of spaces really matter. You brought in food. Everybody likes good food, right? You get to sit down. Y'all at the table still with your friends over there, right? I mean, all of these types of things, these become the healing opportunities in the face of the communal trauma that we've experienced. Because all is not lost. Look at us thriving. Can you believe it? Listen to our story. Thriving, shining, right? Your black looking girl, yeah. Right? I mean, do you see all these things? So when we think about the national stage, maybe that's not where it's going to be. But in these spaces, it surely is important that we have these conversations and these opportunities. Yeah. Yes.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, the Gap Band, you dropped the bomb on me. I already knew what the song was about. It was too obvious. But people who don't know about Tulsa in 1921, Greenwood District, Black Wall Street, they won't know. But I already knew that they were from Tulsa, that Charlie Wilson and if they're his brothers or bandmates are from Tulsa. I already knew that. Also, that's the tip of the iceberg, because like you look at Rosewood, Florida, that 1997 movie about Rosewood, Florida and what happened in 1923, that's because in 1993, I was only 2 in 1993. I only know this because I read it on Wikipedia. In 1993, some survivors, black people who survived Rosewood, Florida in 1923, went to Maury. I believe they went to the Maury show and talked about their experience, and then Hollywood found out about it. They made the 1997 movie. Now, how this relates to Tulsa and Rosewood was caused by the same problem. A white woman falsely accused a black man of rape. In 1921, May 31st, 1921, white woman was on an elevator, and there was a black man named Dick Rowland, or she's claimed that he did something to her, and then some white men, mob of white men. I'm sorry.
Okay. You see me, I'm like learning the history. What now? And what was his name again? Okay. I will go down a rabbit hole with you. Okay. I appreciate that, right? Again, just kind of giving us more context when we think about like these layers of trauma. And I'm glad that you mentioned the word gaslighting, right? Because we know our truth and we know our experiences. And so not to allow that to happen or allow ourselves to entertain that, right? And standing on business in regards to our real experience here. So again, just kind of want to talk about how we may see trauma. We talked about how it shows up here, but also how we may feel it or experience it, right? So visible traumas that have happened, we kind of talked about what those could look like. Exposure to toxic substances. Well, in Hunter's Point, that was a whole big deal with the shipping yard and the toxins, and now the neighborhood is beautiful, but we don't know if the toxins is still there. Oh, okay. I just thought I'd throw it out there, right? Some other traumas that we have, well, obviously the violence in our community. We talked about racism, right, and how it's never been gone, but it is definitely showing itself in different ways, right, now. But one last trauma that I wanted to talk about was really the war on drugs, right? Because this came through and really devastated communities. When we think about generational impacts, right, I'm talking about from here to here to here, right? We have 3 generations impacted by the war on drugs. Yeah. All right, so the war on drugs started in the late 1960s, right? Kind of ushered in through the 70s, right? But we had so much stuff going on in the 60s, right? We got the civil rights movement, the women's lib movement, La Raza movement, right? Vietnam and all the issues associated with war. So all these people who have been disenfranchised now had a voice that was coming and emerging. We got Martin Luther King Jr., right? We got JFK, you got Bobby Kennedy. You have these people who are elevating this message on this platform. And then one by one, they get picked off, right? We start to see the death of our leaders. We start to see when we think about locally, like the Black Panther movement, right? The leaders in that organization. And as they're moving out the leaders systematically, right? We also see them ushering in drugs. And I'll also say systematically around that as well, right? And so now we have a community that had all of these things going. We are deflated. And then you usher in something that is super easy, accessible, and we know people are going to get hooked on it. And then, after you do that, you criminalize everybody who uses the drugs. So not only are we going to take everything away from you and give you these drugs, we're going to lock you up for these drugs. And we're not going to lock you up for a couple of days, right? You got 5 grams of crack rock. This could be 10 years in prison. So when we think again about communal impacts, right, you have removed a mother or a father from a family structure. You have a kid unattached to a parent, a loved one. You have them going unsupervised in the community, right? And we know now the drugs is proliferating everything, right? We got the police coming here. We have all of these things that are happening in the community. And we also see the communal trauma that is being passed down generationally. And so now we have somebody in prison, somebody unsupervised, and they about to have somebody. Hey, here they go. The systems, right? Because again, the problem exists and the systems are there to respond to it. Sometimes the systems exist before the problem does, and now we have a perfect fit for this matrix. So again, when we talk about communal trauma, right, these have been things that have historically impacted our community. Yeah. Now, I don't want to say all is lost, right? Because everything is not lost. Like I said, we come together in these types of spaces. We have these real conversations. You are willing to expose and be vulnerable and share your experiences, sharing about your child and their engagement with law enforcement, being validated for what happened to you. Right? This is how collective communal healing transpires. And so as we think about it living in our body, right, what are we going to do with that body? What do we do with that energy? How do we translate it from trauma space to something productive for us? Right? That is what this collective healing opportunity provides us. And with that, I will finish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give her a round of applause.
All right.
My name is Lana. Hi, everyone. I'm Lana. I don't know if there are any burning questions. I thank you for sharing the history. We go way back. That's why I can take that mic. Are there any other burning questions? We
Burning
have a few
questions.
more minutes. Any other comments you wish you would have said while you were here?
I just want to say that this was not long enough, and we need to have at least a 2-day conference on this, because I feel like when the slaves were enslaved and they let them free, there was no mental health for them. There was nothing. They was just let go. And that's what you're going to do to us tonight.
Oh. I'm not gonna let you go. I'm gonna set my people free.
Yeah.
That's what we gonna do. Right. But no, thank you for that, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
I want to.
Yes.
One thing I want to add to, and most of us may notice, that our people need to engage in therapy more. And we need to produce more therapists and whatnot, and not see it as something wrong, but a good thing. We really got to embrace that, because it helps. And more of our people are doing it, but we definitely need to do that and not be ashamed. Doesn't have to be everybody's business, but we have to start engaging with therapy.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
All right. I like that 2 cent. I'll say one thing to your comment. When I first went to college and I told my parents that I was going to be studying psychology, right? I'm like, psychology, daddy, is, the thing. It's like, that's for crazy people, right? But no, but that was the prevailing attitude around psychology. And now when I talk to my mom and she talks about all our family members, well, they need counseling. They need therapy. I'm like, well, it took you about a couple of decades, but you came on over to the side, right? So again, just this awareness and knowing that, all of this trauma that we have collectively experienced in our body definitely we could benefit from being able to talk about it in those safe therapeutic spaces, for sure.